Hello，同学们大家好，今天我们来给大家去讲解一下怎么样用Part 3的3个逻辑链，然后来给大家去回答一下我们这个季度 Part 3 20个重点的题目，只用3个逻辑链就可以了。每一个答案等一会儿我会去说的时候的话，都是直接照抄这个逻辑链的，只需要自己大概说1到2个连接句就可以，所以大家一定要认真的去看一看。和往常一样，这个方法都是我们很多学生已经去验证过的，不管是考到6分啊、7分，还是大量的考到8分的同学，都是用这个方法来去实现的啊。那我们先来去看第一组逻辑链吧。第一组呢叫做 self-esteem 的逻辑链，它的意思是说呢，当我们可以去有能力的去感觉自己有能力去做一件事情的时候呢，我们就可以帮助自己去看到自己的能力，还有就是自己可以对一些东西会有一些贡献，然后这样的话就会让我们自己觉得自己会更有价值一些，让自己变得更自信一点。好，那然后右边的这些话题呢，都是可以去套这一组题的。好，那我们来去看一下第一个题啊。What jobs do children want to do when they grow up? A big part of it is that many children dream about becoming doctors, athletes, or even pop stars because these jobs can make them feel capable of accomplishing something impressive. For instance, when a child imagines saving someone's life, winning a gold medal, or performing on stage in front of a huge crowd, it can help them notice their own abilities and contributions in a very direct way, in a way that can reinforce a sense of value and self-worth because they feel they are doing something important that other people admire. Gradually, this can make them feel more confident in themselves, so their self-esteem naturally improves. That's probably why those jobs seem so appealing to children. 看了吧？好，你就可以去看到，当我去用这些就是逻辑链的时候，都是照抄一模一样的词组，然后你就再也不用担心我没有任何观点，或者是没有词组的问题，或者是没有逻辑的问题了。好，我们来去示范一下下面一个题啊。Famous person, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being a famous child? I'd say there are both advantages and disadvantages. One obvious advantage is that being a famous child can really improve their self-esteem. If a child is good at singing, acting, or sports, and a lot of people admire that, it can make them feel capable of accomplishing something at a very young age. In that situation, they often start to notice their own abilities and contributions more clearly, and that can reinforce a sense of value and self-worth. As a result, they may feel more confident in themselves, so their self-esteem improves. Another advantage is that fame may bring them better opportunities like training, resources, or useful connections. The disadvantage, though, is that they might lose a lot of freedom and privacy. For instance, other people may keep watching what they do, commenting on their appearance, or judging their mistakes online. I mean, for a child, that kind of pressure can be quite stressful because they may feel they always have to behave perfectly. Friend skill. What are the benefits of children learning a musical instrument? I think there are a couple of benefits. One major one is that learning a musical instrument can really improve a child's self-esteem. If a child learns to play the piano or violin well, for example, they start to feel capable of accomplishing something that actually takes time and effort. As they practice more and gradually improve, it helps them notice their abilities and contributions, especially when they can perform for other people or take part in school activities. In that sense, it can reinforce a sense of value and self-worth because they realize they can do something meaningful and difficult. Before long, they tend to feel more confident in themselves, so their self-esteem improves quite naturally. Another benefit is that it can also teach children patience because they need regular practice if they want to improve. 好，我们来去看一下啊，所有这些题都是一个套路去写出来的，对不对？好，那我们来去看一下你自己是怎么样去准备。到我们这个 AI 平台上面的话呢，我们拿一个自己我已经给大家去定好一个答案啊，然后我们找到这个music friend 这个题，然后我们每个季度预测题全部都给你放在这边。我们刚才那个题是是不是 What are the benefits children learn musical instrument？ 你可以直接在这边录音，但是我们节省时间，我把这一个答案给它放在这里。你会看我写这个答案的话呢， 我直接说的是小朋友会觉得自己可以去克服一个困难，然后觉得自己比较有能力，比较有成就感。后面我都是照抄的，我就会说他们觉得自己比较有成就感，比较有成就感，就是去凑字数的。那我们看一下 AI 它是怎么去给你改的呢？它改的时候的话，可以直接让你去用上，提醒你去用上我们课程里面的这逻辑链，总共是有20组完整的逻辑链啊。第一个版本会直接根据你的答案改，然后再有一个版本就是右边这个版本是直接去用这个逻辑链去写的，然后你会看直接就会用了这个 self-esteem 的逻辑链吧。那里面的词组的话，刚刚和我们刚才说的是一样 ，notice their abilities and contributions， 就是 reinforce their self-worth， 还有我们刚才说的是还有其他一些什么 feel confident, proud of themselves， 这些全都是逻辑链里面的词组。所以这个 AI 工具的话，就可以帮助，会提醒你哪些题，当你不知道怎么样去灵活用的时候，有些学生说，那我背了那么多逻辑链，还是不知道怎么样灵活用的时候的话，它就可以帮助你真正的去不断去强化，知道哪些话题可以去用上这个逻辑链啊。好，然后我们继续去示范下面一个题。Why do some people like to show their talents online? One reason is that showing their talents online can really improve their self-esteem. For example, if someone posts videos of their singing, dancing, or drawing, and other people respond positively, it can make them feel capable of accomplishing something special. At the same time, that kind of feedback helps people notice their abilities and contributions more clearly because they can see that what they do is being recognized and appreciated. In a way, this can reinforce a sense of value and self-worth, especially if they have worked hard on the talent for a long time. Eventually, they may feel more confident in themselves, so their self-esteem improves, and that probably makes them even more willing to share their skills online. Family member. When do adults feel proud of themselves? In many cases, adults feel proud of themselves when they've done something that proves they are capable of accomplishing something difficult or meaningful. For example, that might be getting a promotion, supporting their family well, or finishing something they've worked on for a long time. In those moments, they can really notice their own abilities and contributions because they can see clear results from their effort. I think that can reinforce a sense of value and self-worth, especially when they do also benefits other people around them. Little by little, experiences like that make them feel more confident in themselves, so their self-esteem improves as well. What are the benefits of trying new things? To some extent, there are a couple of benefits to trying new things. One important benefit is that it can really improve people's self-esteem. When someone tries a new activity and realizes they can actually do it, it makes them feel capable of accomplishing something they may have thought was too difficult before. For example, they might learn to swim, speak in public, or travel alone for the first time. And that experience helps them notice their abilities and contributions more clearly. In that sense, it can reinforce a sense of value and self-worth because they start to see themselves as someone who can grow and handle challenges. After that, they feel more confident in themselves, so their self-esteem improves quite naturally. Another benefit is that people often become more open-minded because they get used to unfamiliar situations. Break thing. What kind of people like to fix things by themselves? From what I've seen, people who like to fix things by themselves are often the kind of people who enjoy feeling capable of accomplishing something with their own hands. For example, if they repair a broken chair, a leaking tap, or a new electrical problem at home, it helps them notice their abilities and contributions in a very practical way. I mean, they can clearly see that they solved a problem instead of depending on someone else, and that can reinforce a sense of value and self-worth. 好，我们来去看一下下面一组逻辑链。这组逻辑链是我们写作里面用的很多的，对不对？讲的是这个同理心的这一组。当我们去接触到不同的思想和行为的时候，意识到这种行为是一个正常的一个现象，然后就会更好站在别人的角度去想问题，而不是去评价别人。这个时候会让我们更有同理心，更好和别人去交流一下。好，一般情况下呢，都是比如说你给别人建议呀，或者是你喜欢，或者是电影啊，或者是说你这个是旅游相关的，都可以去用这一组啊。 好，我们来去看一下第一个题 ，advice given 这个话题啊。What personalities do professional advisors have? I think professional advisors should be quite empathetic and open-minded because they talk to clients from different backgrounds and every day they are constantly being exposed to different thoughts and behaviors and that can encourage them to see these differences as normal and accept them. Once they do that, it becomes much easier for them to understand other people's perspectives rather than reacting in a judgmental way. In the end, that makes them more empathetic and makes it easier for them to communicate and get along with people they are trying to help. That's why patience and understanding are such important qualities in that job. Good planner. Should children ask parents or teachers for advice? I'd say yes, in some cases they should, because parents and teachers usually understand children better than most other people do. They have often been exposed to different thoughts and behaviors from children for years, so they are more likely to see those differences as normal and accept them instead of overreacting straight away. Because of that, they can better understand a child's perspective rather than making them feel uncomfortable or judged. That usually leads to more empathetic advice, and it also makes it easier for children to communicate and get along with the adults around them. Of course, children still need to think for themselves, but asking trusted adults can be really helpful. Help others. What should people ask? Who should people ask for help? I think people should ask for help from someone who is open-minded and has experience with different kinds of people. For example, this could be a mentor, a parent, or a close friend who has already been exposed to different thoughts and behaviors, so they don't only look at problems from one narrow point of view. Because of that, they are more likely to see those differences as normal and accept them instead of immediately thinking your situation is wrong or strange, and that helps them better understand the other person's perspective rather than reacting in a judgmental way. In the end, these can make them more empathetic and make it easier to communicate and get along with others. So the advice they give is often more thoughtful and helpful. Movie enjoyed. Do people prefer domestic or foreign movies? I think it depends, but a lot of people do enjoy foreign movies because they expose viewers to different thoughts and behaviors. When people watch films from another country, they can see different family relationships, social rules, and everyday habits, and that encourages them to see these differences as normal and accept them. After a while, that can help them better understand other people's perspectives rather than feeling uncomfortable or judgmental about lifestyles that are unfamiliar to them. In that sense, foreign movies can make people more empathetic and make it easier for them to communicate and get along with people from other cultures. Of course, some viewers still prefer domestic movies because the language and humor feel more familiar. Long journey. Why do people prefer to travel abroad? One big reason is that traveling abroad exposes people to different thoughts and behaviors in a very direct way. When they spend time in another country, they notice how people eat, work, communicate, and live their daily lives. And that can encourage them to see those differences as normal and accept them. Once that happens, they often start to understand other people's perspectives more deeply rather than feeling uncomfortable or judgmental about customs that are different from their own. In the long run, this can make them more empathetic and make it easier to communicate and get along with people from different backgrounds. Another reason is that overseas travel simply feels more exciting and fresh to some people. Story tradition. What can children learn from stories? I think children can learn a lot from stories. And one important thing is empathy. Through stories, they are exposed to different thoughts and behaviors because they get to follow characters who may live in a different family, culture, or situation from their own. They can encourage children to see these differences as normal and accept them instead of thinking everyone should feel or behave in exactly the same way. Because of that, stories can help children better understand other people's perspectives rather than reacting in a judgmental way when someone seems different from us. In the end, this can make them more empathetic and make it easier for them to communicate and get along with others in real life. Another thing they can learn is basic moral lessons like honesty and kindness. Interesting media. What are the advantages and disadvantages of social media? One clear advantage is that social media exposes people to different thoughts and behaviors because they can follow users from different countries, age groups, or lifestyles. If people use it in a healthy way, that can encourage them to see these differences as normal and accept them. Then it may help them better understand other people's perspectives rather than feeling uncomfortable or judgmental straight away. As that happens, social media can make people more empathetic and make it easier to communicate and get along with others, especially across cultures. Another advantage is that it lets people stay in touch very easily. The downside, though, is that people can waste a lot of time on it. They may also compare themselves too much with others, which can affect their mood or confidence. 下面我们来去学下面一组啊，是 freedom 和 identity 的这一组啊。Having the freedom to do what they love， 就是当他们有自由去做自己喜欢做的事情的时候的话呢，他们就可以去we are more likely to make choices that match our interests and values， 就我们就更可以去做一些选择是和我们是自己比较感兴趣的。然后呢 this helps us express who we really are， 帮助我们去表现自己吧。比如说你去买衣服的时候，对不对？买一件自己特别喜欢的衣服，你觉得你可以去表达自己，然后这样可以去 develop a clearer sense of self and identity。然后右边的这些话题都是可以去用这一组这个逻辑链。好，我们现在来去做示范啊。Friend painting. Why do children draw more than adults? I think children draw more than adults because they usually have more freedom to do what they love without worrying too much about the result. When children enjoy drawing, they are more likely to make choices that match their interests, even if the picture looks messy or unfinished. And that helps them express who they really are and understand what motivates them. Because they can put their ideas and feelings on paper quite freely. Over the years, this also helps them develop a clearer sense of self and identity. Adults, by contrast, often become more self-conscious and start thinking too much about whether their drawing is good enough. Creative person. What kind of jobs require creativity? I say jobs like designers, writers, advertisers, architects, and content creators usually require a lot of creativity. A big reason is that people in those jobs need the freedom to do what they love, because creativity tends to come out more naturally when they are not forced into one rigid way of thinking. They are also more likely to make choices that match their interests and values, which help them produce original work instead of something generic. In that process, they can express who they really are and understand what motivates them, and that often leads to stronger ideas. With time, they develop a clearer sense of self and identity, which can make their creative work even more distinctive. Family business. Why do some people choose to start their own company? I think one big reason is that starting your own company gives people the freedom to do what they love instead of following someone else's rules all the time. Because of that, they are more likely to make choices that match their interests and values, such as what kind of products they want to create, who they want to work with, or what kind of work culture they prefer, in a way that helps them express who they really are and understand what motivates them, because the business often reflects their own ideas and priorities. As time goes on, this can help them develop a clearer sense of self and identity, which is why some people find this path much more meaningful than working for someone else. Good planner. Should children plan future careers? I think children can think a little bit about their future, but they probably shouldn't overplan too early. The reason is that what you enjoy doing can change over time, especially when you are still young and haven't explored enough yet. If children decide on one career path too early, they may end up getting locked into that path later on, and that can make them lose the freedom to do what they truly love. Because of that, they may be less likely to make choices that match their real interests and values. In that situation, it becomes harder for them to express who they really are and understand what really motivates them. As a result, this may not help them develop a clear sense of self and identity. Shopping mall. Why do people buy things they do not need? I'd say one big reason is that when people shop, they often feel that things like clothes or gadgets can help them express who they are. For people who tend to buy things they don't really need, shopping gives them the freedom to choose items that match their interests and values instead of only thinking about practicality. For example, someone might already have a perfectly good phone, but still buy a newer one because the design feels more stylish and fits the image they want to show other people. In that sense, the purchase is not just about necessity, it's also about identity. After a while, choices like this can become part of their sense of self and identity, which is why some people keep buying things they don't actually need. Technology. What technology do young people like to use? I'd say young people are really drawn to social media platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And I think a big reason is that these technologies give them the freedom to do what they love. For example, they can post videos or photos about their hobbies, opinions, or daily life, and they are more likely to make choices that match their own interests and values. In that sense, these platforms help them express who they really are. So over time, they can develop a clearer sense of self and identity. I think there's also a kind of personal pride in it because you feel like you finally can be yourself without any rules. 好，那我们下面就把我们所有题目都示范完了。提醒大家一下，在真正考试的时候，你是不可能回答这么流利，你肯定是有一些停顿，有一些想的。还有那些不能套这个逻辑链的题目的话呢，你可以去用一些简单的词啊来去说一下自己的真实情况。还有一些题的话，你完全可以说自己不知道。那我们在视频下面给大家放了2个链接，大家可以去看一看。我自己考了大概是5、6次的8分以上，在真正考试的情况下，Part 3到底是怎么样去回答的？你肯定会有去想的情况。还有就是官方给大家一些，就是你考试的时候，当你去不知道的时候，应该是怎么样去回答的。那我们今天这节课就讲到这边了，我们下节课程再见啦。